Altcoins to buy before the pump. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, where we keep technical analysis short and sweet. And a lot of people think Bitcoin is going to keep crashing, but
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about any of this.
So with that being said, Bitcoin is starting to hold some support on the black upward trend line. I always recommend Tornado Cash. Nobody's promoting me for this stuff, but this is probably the most bullish chart I've seen in crypto as of right now. A lot of pressure off that 200 EMA and the CM Guppy. It's just a matter of time before Tornado Cash takes off. Definitely stack a bag. There's a reference in the link below, description. But definitely check it out if you can. Not financial advice in any way. I was actually requested to look at Near, and Near's looking actually really nice at the moment. Judging by this chart, I drew it in the previous video I had to delete, but we see this downward trend line that we were trying to break over, the upward trend line that we were holding support on. Imagine this is water just getting pushed into a tiny little area. It's got to break out one way or another. The downside is 0. Obviously, we are at 248. The upside is $21. So we can imagine once we get over this 200 EMA, we're going to get a push towards this 480. We may get a little rejection, a push up over that, and then testing this downward trend line once more before ultimately taking off to $21, which is about a 10x gain on that. It's not very, there's definitely more potential. Once it gets over that $21, it always almost makes a new all-time high. Could be double that, could be 40. It's at $2.50 right now. However, I like to compare it to XCN. When we were looking at XCN in the bigger picture, I was in here for the first pump, got that rejection, got here on the second pump, got a rejection, and then here on the third pump, invested a bunch, and we got that 2,000% gain. This is a penny and less than a half for one of these coins as opposed to $2.49. The all-time high, not on this chart, the all-time high is actually 18 cents. So instead of that 10x, you're looking at the first potential being 18x of your money, more or less. And once it hits the all-time high, I expect it to start pushing up to around the 40-cent mark from a penny. So around 40x compared to 20 to 40x. You kind of do the math, and definitely stack a bag of XCN. Definitely, you could stack a bag of Near as well. I did have Near in the past. It's definitely not a bad bet right now. If you do have money invested in this, expect that little bit of resistance around 480 before ultimately taking off after testing the downward trend line, if not over a couple of days time frame. Moving into XRP. XRP had that major retracement, is testing the previous highs here, back here whenever Trump announced the cryptocurrency, whatnot. It's testing this support at 290, and we are trying to build a higher low than this previous one at $1.98, keeping the 200 EMA close, tested right in the 618. The RSI is right at the 50. We just need to cross over that yellow line. There is some important information going to be happening anywhere from August 13th to August 21st. Last time we had that important information listed out here in June 17th to July 17th. We see that it just had a major pump up to that new all-time high immediately once July 17th hit. So this is some important information area. We may get a little consolidation, bringing that 200 EMA closer, holding that black upward trend line. The RSI looks great. Volume picking up a little bit. We're getting a little wick off, meaning we could start seeing this build some higher lows into this area of August, the middle of August, before we get back up to 3.4 being the all-time high once more, and ultimately pushing off into oblivion for XRP. Same with XLM. It's forming a very nice bull flag. It's holding within that channel as we had placed in the previous videos that I talked about, holding the support on this black downward trend line, pushing up, getting some resistance, and we've touched it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. This upward trend line is very weak. The bottom line, we've hit it about 3 or 4 times. So just a tap or two more on XLM, and we could start seeing that 20% increase back to that high before ultimately pushing back up towards the 64 cents and beyond along with XRP. Also look at the volume picking up. RSI forming that W pattern, trying to push up over that yellow line. And when that happens, it could be breaking this black downward trend line, ultimately pushing it upwards. Aerodrome, I brought it up in the last one. It's okay. It may not be the best investment, but it is building higher lows with all the other stuff taken out. We're just looking at the complete upward trend line on this. This is what we need to hold as support, 200 EMA. Once we cross over that 200 EMA, just like we've seen in the past in September, major push up before retracement, tried to break through the CM guppy, did not work and had a further push up. Aerodrome's at 74 cents. This high on this chart is around 230. There may be some better potential. This is more of a dollar cost average, but it's at a pretty low point to be investing in for Aerodrome Finance. Moving back to XCN, putting on all the Skittle chart, as my brother calls it. We see that it's testing this low underneath the 200 EMA, testing the low underneath the 200 EMA, testing the low underneath the 200 EMA. The potential downside on this chart, let's use Fibonacci, rough bottom to the top. I guess this is the top. 618, we already broke past that 618. So we will ignore what I just put on the chart. It's very difficult to see with all this other stuff in here. That's just my kind of visual information. Bottom to the top, 618, broke past that. We hit this gray at the 0.0314, testing it as support. The next potential drop, it's possible, as we've seen it happen in the past, drop all the way to 0.009, take everybody's money, anybody who has a sell within this area, and ultimately rip right back up with the flash crash, pushing up over the 200 EMA and skyrocketing XCN. I'm not worried about XCN either. I have quite a bit of money invested in it. It's definitely playing out a lot longer than I thought, but as long as we hold above this black trend line, we are just testing it as support, making sure that it does not want to go lower than this area before pushing back upwards. XYO had its blip the other day, and I apologize about my previous video being 20 minutes long. I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter, but there's a lot of information being played out. Also needing to get above the 200 EMA, downward trend line, holding support on this upward trend line. Just wait for your entry if you have not entered already to get above this area around the 0.012. You're not missing out on a whole bunch from the 0.01. I believe that's like a 20% increase, but we want to see it break this downward trend line and get in this fair value gap, these two dotted red lines, before ultimately taking off for XYO, throwing in Spell there. And then I'll also do Sheeb. Spell is just trying to hold that support trend line. Not a whole bunch to say about it. Wait for your entry on Spell, as there are other cryptocurrencies that have better potential. Moving into Compound. Compound, very, very, very healthy, starting to look like Tornado Cash. Holding over this black downward trend line, which is very important. Tested it a second time. Now it has to test this downward trend line as well as this upward trend line, which it's obviously getting some support. We just need to creep up over this 200 EMA, and then we'll start seeing that push up to $61 like we've been talking about. We had our previous entry once we broke over the previous downward trend line, scalped to 60%, had the opportunity to enter again here. I believe it was around 20% increase. Did not hold. Now you have your third opportunity to get in on Compound. If we invert this chart, it looks very like, imagine this is going bearish, but this is actually a bullish chart. We are getting lower highs in this inverted chart, meaning we are getting strong resistance off of this, pushing this towards this downward area, which is actually the bullish formation in the long term. So very, very good news on Compound. Very high potential. I believe its all-time high is over $1,000. We are currently at 46. High volume. RSI is right at the 50, trying to break over the yellow. All this is very bullish information. So if you have not entered into compound, now is not a bad idea. It is not financial advice. Same with XLM, XRP. Hbar is going to be capital gains tax free, is what I'm told. Very nice consolidation, holding some support above the 200 EMA, holding above the CM Guppy. RSI down here is looking very nice. Just need to cross over that yellow, and we'll start seeing this push back up to the high of 29 cents. And volume is picked up exponentially. So very good bet on Hbar as well as compound and XLM. Sheeb actually looks very good. I did not realize that it was number 22 in the chart, but judging by previous history, definitely has a very, very long way to go to get to its all-time high. We're at 0.0000 roughly 9. We are at 0.0001. So that's near 10x from if you are to enter at this current point. We want to do a little bit more analysis on this, get an upward trend line going, get this downward trend line going, more or less this. This is the wedge we are working within. Everybody sees it, hopefully. And we are getting a little bit of rejection off this 200 EMA. So getting up over the 200 EMA, we may see that push to 0.019, obviously 0.00019. But breaking this downward trend line is very important. Once that breaks, we've seen Sheeb take off like crazy from the past. We are all the way down, say we're at this exact point, about 600% potential profit on Sheeb. It is a meme coin, so just keep that in mind. Don't stack an entire bag of Sheeb, but it does have some pretty nice potential to at least 6x your money once it gets over this 200 EMA. That's it for this video. Definitely like and subscribe if you want. References for Tornado Cash and free airdrop money next month by Grass in the description below. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.